So it's been another disappointing season for the Baltimore Orioles, and I'm honestly not really surprised at this point. This team has had so many ups and downs over the last couple of years, so let's just take a look at their last 5 seasons. You guys can see, obviously, in 2025, did not really play the best, only 75-win season, and obviously that 24 and 23 seasons were some of their best ones in recent times, but still failed to win a playoff game, which is extremely embarrassing in my opinion. The fact that they had this little 2-year stint and they just couldn't put anything together. So yeah, it's been a pretty rocky roller coaster for this Baltimore Orioles team, and this team is trying to make some upgrades and they're trying to get back to this postseason because this team is definitely in a good position to do so after some of the recent trades and moves they've made. So let's take a look at this contract situation because they have a lot of new contracts on their books now. Let's start with some of their old ones. Tyler O'Neill is still on this team for 2 more seasons after he signed that contract in 2025. One of the new free agents they got is Ryan Helsley. He's going to make $14 million for 2 years, and that second year is a player option, so he'll be able to choose whether to come back with this team or not. Pretty interesting contract structure they have there. And obviously the big one in this offseason was Pete Alonso, 5 years, $150 million contract. So he's going to make $31 million a year. It's not yet updated on Baseball Reference, but that is what he'll be making. The Royals went out and signed Andrew Kittredge, which was a good contract, and then the Taylor Ward trade that they made with the Angels for Grayson, I thought was a pretty good one as well. That's kind of some of their roster moves that they've made on this team, and honestly they've been pretty good so far, especially with that young core they do have. I think this team's pretty solid in getting some veteran talent. So we'll see what happens with this Orioles team. I definitely think they're going to be a good squad. So if we add in Pete Alonso's contract, they're currently paying $126 million to their players in this season. At least so far. If we take a look at what they spent last season, it was $158 million. So there's definitely a chance that they could go over that, especially if they go out and sign someone else. I mean, this Pete Alonso contract was the biggest signing since the Chris Davis contract, so that's definitely a good start for the Orioles. So let's take a look at the Orioles active roster. It's obviously a pretty solid one. Let's start with this rotation, probably the weakest part of this Orioles team, not gonna lie, with Kyle Bradish, Trevor Rogers, Dean Kramer, Tyler Wells, Cade Porch, and Brennan Young. I mean, it's okay, but it's definitely their weakest point in my personal opinion, and this is definitely something they're gonna have to address when the season comes around, because I just don't think it's a good rotation, and I think they're gonna struggle to honestly make the postseason with that rotation. Now let's take a look at this bullpen. They have way too many guys in this bullpen, so it's gonna be really interesting to look at. Obviously Ryan Helsley, Andrew Kittredge, and Felix Bautista, and Yonder Cano, all those guys are very solid pitchers. They do have like 2 closers and 2 setup guys, which works perfectly with this team. So definitely gonna have a really strong suit in that bullpen, which is gonna be very exciting to watch. So that's definitely one of the strong suits of this pitching is that bullpen, especially with a lot of the players that they have in this bullpen. So definitely excited to watch these guys thrive moving forward. But let's get into this team starting 9, starting with the catcher position. Obviously Adley Rutschman and Sam Basil will probably be switching places most of the season. Obviously the Orioles did use like 7 catchers last year, so we'll kind of wait to see how many it tends to be this year with everyone getting hurt. So we'll see what happens there. Pete Alonso is obviously going to play first base for this team. Second base is obviously going to be Jackson Holliday. Third base is obviously going to be Jordan Westburg, and then shortstop is going to be Gunnar Henderson. And then taking a look at this outfield, obviously Taylor Ward is definitely playing left field. Colin Krauser is definitely going to play center field. And then me personally, I have Tyler O'Neill playing right field. And then at DH, I would probably have Ryan Mountcastle in my personal opinion. That's kind of the starting 9 I see for this team moving forward. Pretty clear cut. And they have more talent on the bench too, which is pretty crazy to think about how stacked this team is going to be. And obviously they're going to use probably a ton of different lineups throughout the 2026 season. But let's take a look at the top 100 prospects. The Orioles have 2 guys on the top 100, and both of them actually played for the team in 2025. So current number 7 is going to be Samuel Basallo. He's obviously one of their guys that we could definitely see playing at the major league level. Obviously in 2025, he played pretty good at the AAA level. Batted a 270 over there in 76 games. And he did play at the MLB level in 31 games, batted a 165, so definitely gonna have to work around that. Definitely might need this year in the minor leagues, or maybe he'll start in the MLB. I don't know, everyone kind of has him being the DH of this team with all the projected lineups I'm seeing. Me personally, he's definitely not a DH. I'd rather have Ryan Mountcastle there, just looking at the numbers. But we'll see what happens in spring training. That's obviously gonna be a massive time to prove that he deserves to be on this 2026 Orioles team. But me personally, I just don't see him being the DH, and I don't see him catching either. But I think he could definitely be a good player if he rebounds in 2026. Maybe we'll start in the minors. Maybe we'll see it in spring training. He's definitely gonna be a good player 100% in the future. And then coming at number 83 on the top 100 is going to be Dylan Beavers. Now, he also played in 2025 with this Orioles team. So in 2025, he batted a 304 in AAA in 94 games. So definitely slugging out for sure when it comes to AAA. Gets the call up in 2025 in 35 games. He puts up a 227. So, but I also think he could bounce around too. He's an outfielder, so we'll see if he starts to play out there every day with the kind of new outfield they get. Obviously losing Cedric Mullins out there, right? So we'll kind of see what happens with that Orioles Orioles outfield and see where kind of he could slot in and play every day. Once again, I still think he's got to prove himself throughout spring training to prove that he needs to be there in 2026 because they got a lot of good outfielders. So it's going to be pretty hard to have him playing every day over another guy that's also playing well. So we'll kind of see what happens with him. But I definitely think if he turns around in 2026 at the MLB level, spring training, he'll probably start most of the games, to be honest. So those are the two players on the Orioles in the top 100. Both of the kids can honestly start in 2026. Me personally, I would just like them to prove themselves a little bit more to get that everyday spot over guys that have been in the league for multiple years. But let's go over to the 2025 attendance for the Orioles. Now, when we go to year-over-year difference for this team, they're actually number 28th, which is really bad. But obviously coming off a postseason year and then not making the postseason the next year is definitely going to hit you hard. And they were down almost 500K when it comes to attendance. So that's how big their drop-off was, which is pretty crazy to think about. And if we're just taking a look at the 2025 attendance alone, they come in at number 23, and they brought 1.8 million fans to the stadium with an average of 22,000. So definitely below league average for sure. Obviously, the league average part is almost 35,000 to about 25,000. So definitely got some work to do for the Orioles. We'll see if they can bounce back in 2026. I definitely think it's a possibility with some of the players they've signed. Now let's take a look at the Orioles 2026 MLB Draft. Obviously, they just had the draft lottery. So in the first round, they do have the 7th pick. So definitely a pretty solid pick that they could definitely get a good player from. And we know this is where the Orioles thrive. So this is definitely where they're going to be looking to some of their next talents in the next couple of years. Now moving down to competitive balance round A, they do have their pick there at number 33. If you guys don't know what the competitive balance is, it's basically 10 smallest markets in the MLB or their smallest revenue pools get an additional pick in the first or second round to try to make up for that difference like the big teams who spend every single offseason. So they do get that extra pick at number 33. Now moving on down to the second round, they're actually at pick number 9 in this round because of the pick penalties that the Blue Jays and Dodgers have. So they'll be at pick number 9. In round number 3, they pick at number 7. And then in round number 4, they also pick at number 7. And then for the 5th round, they pick at number 7. And then for the rest of the draft, they're going to be picking at number 7. So the Orioles have all 20 draft picks for the upcoming draft. And they have an additional pick with the competitive balance round A. So they're at 21 picks for the 2026 MLB Draft. So my prediction on this Baltimore Orioles team is I definitely think they're going to bounce back. Now, I think they're going to have to fight to get to a postseason spot. I mean, this AL East is just so competitive with all these different teams. The Blue Jays improving. You know, we got the Red Sox improving. We got the Rays improving. The Yankees are doing nothing. Shout out to them. They're really going to have to prove themselves if they can get a postseason spot, especially with this hard division that they're in. And it's definitely going to be an interesting fight to watch. Obviously, with them spending money is definitely going to help them picking up some top talent for sure. And obviously, with all the rookies they still have, it's definitely going to be a fun team to watch. And we'll see what happens for the Orioles this year. I think most people thought they were going to be pretty competitive, at least 500, but they definitely fell off in 2025. In 2026, I think they're going to be battling for that postseason spot. And I don't know if they're going to get it yet. I really don't, to be honest. But if they can get back in the postseason, I think that's definitely a W. Once again, if they're around 500 or very close to the postseason, I think that could also be a W for them. But obviously, definitely looking to get in the postseason if you're the Orioles next season. With that being said, what are your guys' thoughts on the Baltimore Orioles? Definitely let me know down below in the comment section. Then with that being said, make sure you guys follow me on all my socials. Follow me on X for all of our updates. Follow me on Instagram for all of our clips. And if you guys want to join the Discord to talk more about MLB or MLB The Show, definitely click the link down below in the description. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out, everyone.